we've got a panel tonight that is going to talk to us not only about where Omaha restaurant culture has come, but how it's evolved, how they've adapted with it and continued to thrive, and where we're going. Tonight we've got the owners of Broncos, Barrett's, and La Casa Pizzaria. Let's welcome them to the show. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and tonight we are talking about 3 restaurants that need no introduction to Omaha. If you've lived in this city for 50 years or 50 minutes, you have heard of these places, and there's a good chance you've dined at these places. And we've got a panel tonight that is going to talk to us not only about where Omaha restaurant culture has come, but how it's evolved, how they've adapted with it and continued to thrive, and where we're going. Tonight we've got the owners of Broncos, Barrett's, and La Casa Pizzaria. Let's welcome them to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, starting with you, Blake, I'm going to ask each of you gentlemen to introduce yourselves and give us just a quick 45 to 60 second introduction to your concept.
Awesome. All right. My name is Blake Barnes. I am the grandson of the original founder of Broncos in Omaha, Nebraska, where we originally started. Been with the company for 10 years. I say been with the company, but been with the family, of course, my entire life. But, you know, sometimes, I don't know, I think might be adopted, but that's a different story. But
that's a family business. Right? Yeah.
It's a family business. Sometimes I want to be adopted and find my real family. But anyway, don't take offense to that. But in all honesty, no, I've been running the place for the last 10 years. I've had an opportunity recently to take it over, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I really appreciate you guys coming out and just being fans in general. And yeah, I mean, it's been a fun 10-year journey, and I'm looking for, 65 more if I live it.
Yeah. Well, my name's Jack Barrett Jeffrey. My grandfather also bought Barrett's. It started Barrett's in 87. My mother was running it for years and still is technically the, I call her El Presidente. But,
for many reasons.
But I'm more of the day-to-day operational guy, and obviously our media director. But yeah, I've been loving working at Barrett since I learned to walk there. It's something I've grown up with, and I still live in the neighborhood right there in Morton Meadows, and I really just enjoy being here with you guys, because I know you guys quite well on Leavenworth. Yeah,
this is the Leavenworth gang right here.
I want to thank you guys all for being here, and also to Dan for inviting us. That's wonderful.
All right, Tony Vacanti Jr. Like my other co-host here, it is a family business. So really, my father had run all 3 restaurants over time with the help of other family members. I've been active in the business now a little over 10 years. Moved back from San Francisco, where my wife and I started our careers. We opened our Pacific Springs store not that long ago. So we're celebrating, now we're into our 7th year. We'll be our 8th year. So that was a big part of me coming back. And I think this is something that we can talk about more over time, but it's like how we evolve and how we change. And that was a big push for us going into where we're at today, is having a location and being in West Omaha. And so I've had the privilege of starting that and running that and overseeing a lot of the operations across our businesses.
We will definitely talk about that evolution, but I want to start kind of with where we've come from. And that's because at this on this panel right now, we have La Casa opened in 1953, Broncos was 1959, Barrett's was 1987. You're kind of the baby, Jack. You're only 39 years old.
Still got a callus on his thumb.
Well, it was the classic.
But that is
that was down the street from you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
That is 179 years of restaurant experience between these 3 concepts sitting up here on the stage. When you guys look at your family's businesses, what do you think has allowed you to not only survive and stick around that long, but thrive and still be so popular today?
Well, I'll go first. I think it's the community. I think it's everybody that lives in Omaha. I think it's, being comfortable with, a little bit of regularity. But not, I love that Omaha's grown so much in a way that we were able to stay, relevant. Like it's tough, but I think when, you know, I probably eat more at these two places than Barrett's.
Oh, I eat yours, I promise.
And I think that community is the number one thing.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. I mean, Omaha is a place that embraces, I mean, anything that is done here. I mean, you can go to the College World Series, you can go all these things that Omaha does. They always come out and they always support. I mean, your hat, the Creighton Blue Jays. I mean, look at the support that the community gives to anything that's done in Omaha. And I think that's really the biggest piece is that we're part of a generational legacy across Omaha where you have, I just spoke with this young woman over here. She told me that she had many dates there and then birthday parties there. And I think that's the big part of it is that, Omaha is so family oriented and that's what we're known for. And these traditions are passed down year over year. And I think, we work hard at that. I think Broncos, I think Barrett's, and we recognize that, we may not be the new sexy pizzeria or we might not be the new sexy cheeseburger or bar on the street, but we cater to a specific crowd that is proud to, support local legends. So
I agree 1,000,000% to play off what you were saying. I mean, Omaha is a community. I mean, we're just known as, a family. I mean, it really seems like if you don't know somebody in Omaha, you know somebody that knows them. And I feel like it's still that way, especially in the core area of Omaha where we are at. And even as it grows, I think generationally, we don't have to be so deep in advertising that we have to, spend hundreds of millions of dollars getting the word out. I think you guys, as our fans for generations, just share it with your kids and your grandkids, and I think it goes back to what you're saying. You don't take it for granted. You know that you got to stay at your A game because there's always a new competitor in, there's always a new concept in. But I think some of our concepts also are timeless, and they're timeless because it may be simple, but they're executed well by a team that cares. And I think that's really relevant forever and at all of our stores.
yeah, that's probably why we're all still around. Consistency, right?
Yeah.
And that's the number one name of the game. I mean, I know what I'm getting when I walk into Barrett's. I know when I'm going through the drive-through, whether it's for breakfast or lunch at Broncos, what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And it's that consistency I think that people really, get used to and appreciate.
And us also being more of a bar. Of course, the grill is.
As I've got older, I don't think of you as a bar. I think about a place where I go eat. But yes,
No, and of course, but we also have the venue across the street called the B Bar, and so we have music there. And if I'm working there till the band gets done at 12:30 midnight, I'm pretty much gonna be getting breakfast sandwiches at Broncos.
Yeah, we are the best hangover helper.
Yeah.
I do know that. Been told that.
And then my gal and I are getting a La Casa Pizza, so we save a lot on gas.
that's right. Yeah, very strategic
Yeah.
there on Leavenworth. But and you know what? It's funny. You look at Leavenworth. We're the only ones left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Med Center has been good, I think, to all of us, and they've been pretty clear saying that they like having us there.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see what's evolved. I mean, in that area of town, and the fact that we're all still there is a testament.
Whenever people ask me almost daily about, I heard you guys sold.
I
Or,
heard
yeah,
it too.
yeah,
I'm sure
heard
you
you
do
guys-
too.
yeah.
Yeah. UNFC picked you guys out, didn't they?
And I say no, because I just look at you two and us, and I'll be honest, I had a lot of Hondas. I go to
You're right,
exclusive
exclusive,
Hondas right there, right in between Barrett's and La Casa, and they seem to be doing good.
Robert
And,
does a great job over there.
yeah,
The owner of that place is awesome.
and I think that UNMC they know not to, after their Charlie Graham fiasco, don't want to encroach on places like us, and that's very, very nice of them. But also, you can't swallow up successful, staples.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, we have seen some classic Omaha restaurants close in the last decade, 15 years, restaurants that were around for 60, 70 years. And it's very sad when that happens. But it's difficult for a restaurant as more generations come. Like Gen Z right now is very, so different from my parents' generation. The way that they ate, the way that they consumed media is incredibly different from how it's done today. How do you guys think that your concepts have been able to bridge that gap? And sometimes where there's when a new generation kind of becomes the dominant eating culture, there can be that break and a classic restaurant struggles to adjust. You guys have continued to be popular generation after generation. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I can start with, we're not always completely relevant to the latest generation. Like you say, Gen Z and even Alpha, they kind of prefer things in a more methodical and meticulous manner than maybe Broncos might do it. For instance, one of the social media things that we get a lot on comments is went there for the first time, absolutely sloppy, poured the fries on top of the burger, couldn't even find my burger, and I'm kind of like, you don't
That's
get
the
it.
point.
You don't get it. Yeah, and I was like, well, we're not for everybody. It's okay. First of all, that's your insulator, and by the way, when you get out of the parking lot, they've expired anyway, so you need to eat your insulator so that you can get to your burger. But it's more of a thing that it's the food is that good, and it is timeless, and I know that once they try it, they'll enjoy it. But sometimes the packaging or the way that it's put together, and as a traditional 65 plus years restaurant, it doesn't necessarily resonate as far as the feel to them, but once they try it, I think they're like, I need another hit of that because that was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think I'm like the oldest cousin of the Barrett family, besides my cousin Elizabeth, who had never done that. She decided to take a better route, college.
Why do we always say that about people? We're like, it's the better route because
I love my life. I love working at Barrett's. I love being on Leavenworth, but I think we were able to kind of bridge that gap through family and having their friends come in, and that just rolls back to about community. And it's if you keep doing, you don't fix what's not broken, I guess.
Very true.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think a lot of it is family. And I think, staying relevant is such a weird term nowadays because you can be incredibly relevant on social media. And there are places that will kill it on certain campaigns, and then a year or two later, they're gone.
That's so true.
And so it's like you find yourself fighting this. I talked to my wife about this. I talked to all my managers about this. I talked to her dad, who's helped us with things on from a digital standpoint. It's like, what do you do? So I think we all dip our toe into that, and I think we embrace some of it. But I think at the core of what we do, it really is, we are family restaurants. We're generational restaurants. And some of the things we've done is, one, go west. I mean, you look at the expansion of Omaha, and unfortunately, we're neighbors, but one thing we felt like we that helped us was going to West Omaha, and the publicity that we got when we opened and how crazy it was a blessing in many ways. And staying relevant, we do a lot of things from a charitable standpoint. And so that was a big push that when I moved into the business, we do a lot of stuff with schools. So like Elkhorn Public Schools, Parochial Schools, Millard Schools. And so we're always trying to give back, and we have a program called La Casa Gives. So it allows us to get our name presence in front of a lot of the families in West Omaha and Elkhorn, allows us to be, generous in giving back. And so I think those are some of the things we do instead of doing, spending a ton of money on advertising. We do it more directly by really trying to work and give back.
I couldn't agree more. I think, we work hard. Like, I went to Holy Cross with a lot of your family.
Yep.
Right up. I know Nicole Jesse is your aunt, right?
Yeah, would be my dad's cousin.
Yes.
It's like we
I
call
went to
people.
Washington, D.C. with her a couple years ago.
Yeah.
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 And
Small town.
Are these three related?
Yeah, right.
No. Yeah. We're all from Omaha. I always say we have a family tree. There's not a lot of branches.
Yeah.
but I think always giving back to we mainly do more parochial schools.
Sure.
That are east, from St. Bernard's to Holy Name to Holy Cross, OLL, SMM is fine. Shout out to all my friends that went there. But no, I think that's really good. And I think what you did too is, as people that grew up in East Omaha, there's definitely a trend of moving west. And so when you can open, locations out west, that brings that nostalgia back to them. And I applaud you for that, because I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big jump, and
people have asked us for years to open a West Barrett's, and nah.
and I bet you struggle with it because it's not an easy thing, because this industry is incredibly difficult and getting more difficult every day from a margin standpoint, from a personnel standpoint. And so it's like, how do you stay relevant? And I know we're talking about this. It's like, it's hard, and those are tough questions, and expansion is for some and it's not for others.
And to go, play off what you're saying, you're part of the community. You're genuinely part of the community. You don't have to show it on social media. We also are benevolent. We support the homeless. We feed 400 people every month at the Sienna Francis House. Unfortunately, my family's been afflicted by homelessness, and so it's a real thing that is genuine to what we do. But we've done this for years to where it's, you don't have to try and be the sexiest thing, all right. Sometimes it's difficult, but the reality of the thing is that you're there, you're part of the community, you're really helping out. You don't have to be the flashiest, people just go, and it's real, it's genuine, it's been there, and it's something we don't have to try to do. We just are.
I think you guys bring up the consistency is a really good point. And I can think of several restaurants off the top of my head that have an incredible social media game. The restaurant is beautiful. They have like really interesting like gardens or whatever it might be. There's something about the restaurant that makes it pop and everyone like knows about it. And I've gone there and had good meals and had not so good meals. And I kind of have mixed opinions on that because it's just kind of, I don't know what I'm going to get when I visit those places. When I visit you guys' institutions, I know exactly what I'm getting. I've had the La Casa hamburger pizza. If I order that, I'm going to get the same thing that I got last time. Same with my Reuben from Barrett's. Same with my double cheeseburger from Broncos. Like, it's going to be the same. And I think creating that expectation for people that whether they got it in 1960 or 2026, that's huge.
I would agree.
In a day and age where there's so much choice, to be able to know, I want a good burger today, and I know if I go to Broncos, that's what I'm going to get.
Now, one of the things that we have is very simple ingredients. It's simple, it's fresh, it's not frozen. We don't even season the hamburger. We don't have to. We have a local, Del Gould beef from Lincoln, Nebraska. Shout out. You guys have been fantastic all the way through the pandemic and everything. But it's been amazing that we have these partners and we have these three generations of doing business with a lot of our partners where it's a consistent product. Our product, the double cheeseburger, as you mentioned, is the number one seller, that and the big Bronco. But the ingredients on it are three ingredients. You got pickle, onion, mustard, and your meat. And the thing is I don't think that ever goes away. A lot of times it's executed well, it's simple, and you don't have to have the fancy flair. It's just really good.
I think that nostalgia about Broncos too is like a big thing, even for me, as a younger, I love getting that feel of like 1960s.
Yeah.
And it's, it's still executed perfectly. And
it's not trying to create that feel. It's that's what it is.
yeah.
Well, and like I met someone, we were in the back preparing some food, and I don't remember the young lady's
Haley.
name. And you said to me, she runs our Pacific Street store, and she's been there, 14 years?
Yeah.
I think that's the other story behind what all of us
Since
do.
she was 14.
Yeah, is that some of the reasons we're able to do this is the people that work for us.
That's very
And I know, Dan, we've talked and sat down, and I have guys that started in 1987. I have guys that have been with us 35, 40 years, 15 years, 18 years. And the reason they do it is because, one, I think it's our family and how we operate. But two, they believe in the product. They believe in, our customers that come in, and they want to give them the consistency. So talking about consistency, most of our success comes from the people that have chosen to work with us and chosen to have careers with us. And I mean, that consistency is a credit to our team.
Tony, that is shame on me for not mentioning that first. It is employees first. We had a gentleman that worked for us for 65 years. He worked for us from 1959 all the way till 2 years ago when he passed away, Henry Rice. And we have Bronco Bucks. His face is permanently on the $5 bill. But his
awesome.
right-hand man is Sue Galinsky. She's been with us for 45 years. She's a vegan. She hand cuts all the pork tenderloins, hand breads all the chicken.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
All right.
of course.
You don't have
she's
to worry
only been
about
a
her
vegan
stealing
for 25
bites.
years.
Yeah.
Only half of her career at Broncos. But then we have a cook on Leavenworth that's been with us 45 years. We've got Joe and
What's his name?
which one?
Yeah. No, on Leavenworth.
On Leavenworth?
Yeah.
Gerald.
Gerald.
Yeah.
I recognize Gerald every time I
Yeah,
walk in.
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's been there for like 47 years.
Right.
But yeah, so the reason that they do that, I think, like you said, it's how you get consistency is the same people served it to you in 1985 that served it to you in 2026. So it's pretty interesting. But
Yeah,
it's true.
I think that ensuring that your employees are, enjoying their job and compensated well lead to better quality of food. It's just pretty simple. You know, most of our cooks have worked there 10 plus years, which is amazing. You know, of course, we're not as old of institutions as you two, but at the same time, you know, we had our manager, Tiger, who stepped down this year after 39 years. So we celebrate 40 next year.
Yeah.
So that just shows, you know, the love, and you know, we have a lot of great cooks that know what it is. And I think about Scott.
Oh yeah, Scotty, for
Scott,
sure.
Scott loves Barrett's and he loves La Casa.
Yeah, and Sky's
And you guys treat him so well.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. 'Cause
all the employees that we've had over the years. I mean, we just had one of our lead managers had started at Leavenworth, ran our store at Westgate for 25, 30 years, and then helped us open a store at Pacific Springs, and was with us for 7 years out there. And he's still a young guy. He's in his early 60s. He probably would have continued to do it if, you know, he didn't have other obligations and was going to be he's a grandfather now with all these things going on. But I mean, we're so lucky that, you know, people have chosen to spend their careers there, and they care just as much, not only about, you know, the service on the front end, but, you know, on the back end, there's a lot of prep work that needs to be done. And our core team does all of that, from soup to nuts, from, you know, cooking the burger to cutting the cheese to then serving it at the end of the day. They know the process, and, you know, that's where, you know, from start to finish, you get consistency.
Yes.
So clearly, a big part of you guys' success is treating employees really well, so they want to stick around. So they're passionate about the food that they're putting out, the service that they are giving people. They're not considering it just a job, but it's something that they're looking forward to doing. So one piece of advice would be treat your people really well and value them. If I were, let's say I'm starting a restaurant tomorrow, and I come to you and I say, what's one piece of advice you would give to me so I'm going to be around in 2080 or whatever the equivalent is for you guys? What would you say?
I would say respect them with every inch of your heart.
Respect who?
You're the employee.
Other than that, other than respecting the employees, we got that.
Okay, but I'm sorry. What was the question?
Other than, so we know that you got to respect your people. You got to treat them really well. Other than that, what's like the next piece of advice you would give me? Sorry, that was poorly phrased.
I think it's KISS. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you have to. And you hit it on the head with having good relationships in an industry that is evolving constantly, especially from a distributor standpoint where, you know, my dad ran the restaurant for over almost 50 years, and there's no one that he did business with that's still around. I mean, they've been bought out by other, you know, distributors, but I think it's keeping it simple. Same thing. We buy a very high quality beef through Greater Omaha. We buy our cheese from the same person. We buy our tomatoes from the same people, and not having your menu too large. So you're spread all over the place. Especially with, you know, nowadays, I mean, you have supply chain issues. People thought that was part of COVID. It's just part of business now. And so keeping it simple allows you not to have those hiccups where you're out of a product or you're not executing it on the same way week to week. And I think that's the biggest thing: small menu, simple menu, and you know, doing it at a high,
well executed.
Yeah, well executed.
Yeah. I think just trying to maintain your identity as a restaurant is exactly how you can maintain, you know, a regular crowd like you guys out here that truly love La Casa, Barrett's, and Broncos. It just comes simple, simplicity and understanding who you are.
You know, I think a lot of your identity is created by our fans. I really genuinely do. Like, to give an example of that person that, you know, that talked about how we're sloppy and that we throw the fries on top of the burger and stuff. There will be 2 or 3 or 4 comments behind that saying, "You idiot, have you never eaten at Broncos? That's what they do. It's fantastic. Did you thank them for the extra fries?" But it's like the community kind of, you know, we are what we are, and, you know, and then you guys either love it or hate it. We don't get all 5 stars, you know, there are some 1 stars, but it's just, we're not for everybody, and we don't try to be. We just are what we are. We're genuine, we're true blue. And again, I think these guys create our identity. They're generations that have all these stories from their parents and their grandparents, and even maybe some great grandparents that keep coming back and you know, fighting for us. So we appreciate it.
And, you know, Dan, you and I talked about this, 2 months ago, about how, you know, Barrett started off with a simple menu, just burgers and taco night, which does not exist anymore.
Everyone does taco night now.
It's
Yeah,
still selling booze though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's our.
That's stayed consistent.
But throughout the years, kind of building a menu that became staples like the Reuben, the Philly, and just doing the same thing over and over until it becomes something that people love and cherish on Leavenworth. And I know it's gone well for all of us, so that's good. I praise the community.
Tony, you gave a couple examples of how La Casa has evolved and that you guys have really gotten involved in charity work. You've expanded out west. I'd love to dive more into that. And obviously, you guys haven't all been with the restaurant since its inception, but from what you understand of the history and since you joined the team, how do you think your concepts have most evolved to adapt to the modern age of restaurants?
Honestly, I think, really, we have not evolved a ton. And that's the hard part. It's like, I'd love to give you some great answer here of saying, I think the biggest thing is, once again, the negotiation of contracts. And this is the boring stuff, like the negotiation of our contracts on the back end of our business, making sure that the beef we get, the tomatoes we get, the cheese we get is consistent. Because if I wasn't doing that, and I'd love to say that's easy and it just comes in the door. It doesn't anymore.
No.
And so I think
I think when you had those relationships,
Yeah.
but when they go away and the person that was in charge that cared and you had the relationship with goes away, that's when
Yeah, and I think that's
things can happen.
I think that's the evolution of the business too. It's like people ask me a lot of like these type of questions where it's like that's what has allowed us to be relevant and successful. The other thing is we hire intelligently. We get lots of applications. We rarely hire. And so I think the piece is you have to be, and people are always like, how do you struggle with, your food supply? Do you struggle with labor? Do you struggle with these things? And like, I don't want to lie to them, but it's like, I say no, we don't, because I'm always working at it. And I think that's the thing is like, you look at someone like me, I'm a fifth generation. I'm probably an outlier. There are not a lot of people that are going to, I had a career in finance. I stopped that and came back to do this because I care and I want the brand to be around. So I think talk about evolution. That's maybe not evolution. It's like I'm cut from a different cloth where I'm doing things that restaurants that are not around that were in our shoes because no one stepped up to do it. And so I think, being on top of your suppliers, negotiating the right contracts, not being stuck with the idea that, someone's going to come through your door and save you because it's not going to happen. And so it goes back to the basics of hard work and making sure you're hiring correctly. And I think some things like that's one reason that, we've developed a relationship with Herda is that I think there are things we can do more progressively, from a media standpoint or an advertising standpoint. And once again, I don't want to change who we are, but it's like I always say, how do we tastefully remain relevant and, update our concepts slightly?
And I'm going to play off of what Tony says as well. I mean, I don't know how well we are relevant. It's not like you're trying to be. I mean, you're not trying to be, but sometimes just being genuine and true and being what you are is better than having things all spruced up and packaged up the way that, somebody might want to consume it. The other reason I think that a lot of people feel that we've stayed around is because it is us, because on a third and fourth and fifth generation, not every family has a third and fourth and fifth generation that want to take it over. It's difficult. I also had a career in sales and marketing, and I lived in Dallas for 25 years before I took over Broncos 10 years ago. And if it weren't for me wanting to do that, there wasn't somebody else in our family that wanted to. And to sell the business, it may not have the same feel.
They probably wouldn't.
When,
right?
yeah, when you
There's
have
no
somebody
way.
that's from the family that cares, that knows what you're about. I mean, you grew up on it. It's your family business. It means something. It means a lot, and it means everything. And again, I didn't do it for the money. I was making more before. I did it to make sure that the tradition stuck around, and that we grew, and that we continued to serve the community that's always served us.
So I made a joke earlier about college. I did go to college. I went for a history degree and realized, no, that's not going to work.
History repeats itself.
It does, and it is. But regardless of that, we always ensured that there would be a Barrett at Barrett's. Because as my mom is now older, she can't cook anymore.
Right.
Her carb, it doesn't work. And I was more than willing to jump in and say, I love it. I mean, of course, growing up there, but also living in that area was so big for me that, you know, when you do hire people, it's very important they have to know, we get the same thing, people walking in every day. Do you have any job openings? And it's like, yeah, but I don't know.
Right?
Yeah. It's, so, but also, how, like, to answer your question is, we have a new chef that I just love. His name is Cord. And he is kind of doing more of the kitchen management now, where I'm more of a GM. And he has implemented, weekly specials, and he's a very good cook. He's a good chef. And I trust him with all my heart. And he does a good job of, like, maybe doing, going off the beaten path. Like,
Yeah.
this week we have a Cuban special. We've never had that ever.
But I'd eat it there. It's because of Barrett's reputation.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
definitely would go eat
if,
there
hey, if
for it.
Barrett's serving it, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So you do make little changes to try to stay relevant with that newer crowd that looks for that, the Caesar wrap, which I'm like, we're getting tortillas now? Like, all right, let's do it. And it's been great. But
It's funny. It was same thing, I guess. We try to stay relevant. So we had this social media campaign where, a third party company that I hired, God bless him, he's doing great. But he decided to do, for the America 250, to do the All American burger. And he wanted you guys to vote for it and basically come up with it. We had over 450 people submit recipes, and we had a panel of people that went through each of the recipes, tried them out, and voted for it. And so it's voted for and nominated by you, the people. And anyway, it's a little cheesy, but because I'm only gonna do it for the rest of the year. But I'll tell you, so it's a it's a double cheeseburger with double bacon and sautéed onions and pickle, mustard, onion, ketchup, mayonnaise.
wait, is that the
Which
SOB?
was that
It's
is
America,
not
baby.
no, that's not the SOB.
It's not the SOB?
No,
Okay.
But the thing is it does have basically an ingredient that you do in a backyard burger, and it's great. But it's like 7-8 garnished ingredients versus pickle, onion, mustard, or sautéed onion, bacon, or like the big SOB, sautéed onion, bacon. But there's something about it, kind of slows the process down and stuff, and it's great, and I love it. The people wanted it, and we have it. But so that's how we stay relevant. We involve the people with what our marketing is doing, and then we bring it to them. I can't keep it around forever because it does slow the process down, but it's still fun, So we're not trying to grow the menu and be something that we're not. If people want it, we'll do it for a limited time, and then we're going to go back to doing what we do best and serving at a fast pace and a good product.
Yeah, I was very skeptical about his new specials. I'm like, so I have to order this, and this, and that?
Right.
Well,
How long?
it's trying to make it.
You know how long it takes to garnish that burger,
Yeah,
right?
and how to stay the same or true to our word of
Right.
not changing or but
That's why it's limited time only, like what you're
but
talking
you have
about.
to do a little bit to
You gotta test it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Tony and Blake, you guys have talked about how you left the business or maybe weren't involved with the business for a large chunk of your careers and then came back. And Jack, even you went to college and were studying history. You did not plan on being with the restaurant, at least not initially.
Not necessarily, yeah.
What was it that pulled you guys back in? And, Blake, you talked about how important it is to have those generations that are keeping the consistency. What brought you guys back to the
For
restaurant?
me, that's exactly what it was, is that we did not have a third generation. I lived in Denver at the time. I moved to Dallas in 1997, moved to Denver in, I think, 2012, and stayed there till 2016. And my parents are kind of like, hey, we're getting older. If you've ever thought about being part of the family business, I was never a part of the family business. I went to Creighton Prep, and then I went to University of Nebraska. Was international business and Spanish major. Did international business and Spanish in Dallas and in Denver, and I followed my career, enjoyed it. But you're in corporate America. Corporate America is not family business. Both have their challenges. If you've ever been in corporate America or a family business, they're very different challenges, but they're definitely challenges. And it was kind of like, I looked at it and I said, it's going to be sad if we don't have Broncos in the family. And if there's nobody else to take it over, who's going to do that? And if not you, then who? And it was me. And it was like, I can put this career down. I had never worked in a restaurant in my entire life, but I knew in sales and marketing how to serve people and how to treat people with respect. And I knew that if you give them a good product, and Broncos was already doing that. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I basically just said, let's continue to do the same thing that we've been doing at a high level. And then honestly, because we had so many people that worked there for so many years, they taught me how to be the leader. Henry taught me, Sue taught me, and it was one of those things where without them, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I had never worked there before. So it's interesting how it came first full circle, but it did come full circle, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my story's not that different. My wife and I were in San Francisco Bay Area, and we had kids, and it's not the greatest place to raise kids. And being from Nebraska, you kind of look at how you're raising your children. And I think the essence is family. And then I was looking at my father aging and where he was, and I'm not to say if I didn't do it that someone else in the family couldn't have done it, but to the extent that across the locations, I don't know. And so it was always that question is, do you, if it's going to be around, because my dad he'd always say, I'm just going to sell it. He never would have sold it.
I never heard those before in my life.
And it's not even about selling it for money. I think it would have
Right.
just probably ceased to exist. I think I don't think he would have put a price tag on it. And so I think it was at the time a decision was if we were going to do something and I was the part of life I was in, it just made sense if I was going to make a transition. And, I love the business. I love the fact that it was in our family. I mean, my great grandfather came from Sicily. The way the business evolved from my dad's father passing away. And that's really the impetus for the restaurant to begin. It's like all these things are so tied to you and you grew up in it and around it. So you're kind of blind to it. It's just part of your life. And then you start really thinking about the sacrifices that were made and like the American dream that was realized. And you're kind of like, man, I really don't want that to end on me. And, my wife probably would have said otherwise. Maybe we could have not done this, but to a large extent, I mean, you feel like you're a steward of history in some ways and you're blessed with that. Like, I don't want to make it sound like if we weren't around that it matters all that much, but you are a steward to a lot of people and people tell you on a daily basis. The other day someone came up to me and said, you never close and all these things. And I had a long day. I was like, you don't work in a restaurant 70 hours a week. And I looked at right now. Right. And he's a long-term customer. So it was step back, but it's like, it is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And you have to realize you're not doing it for money. You're not doing it for any other reason, but to provide a product that people really do cherish, it means a lot to them.
I think family is the number one, thesis here for us is, we didn't have to do any of this. But also when you grow up here and see your grandparents and your mothers and fathers, grind away for something that means so much, you take a step back and realize how much, my mother has done to make this happen. Karen Barrett is phenomenal and is still involved, but just not in the kitchen. And so I was very willing. I was more than willing. I said, yeah, that's it. All right. I don't want to teach. Yeah.
Those poor
I'll make history instead of studying
Those
history.
poor
right?
kids. Oh gosh. Oh, law school. I don't think I had the grades. But I loved just getting involved and I cooked throughout college there, and it kind of the wheels started turning in my head to no, we got to keep this going.
Yeah.
Frank Barrett would be proud as much as like everybody that
And Omaha
that loves this place. It doesn't deserve to close because nobody would do it.
Yep.
And that goes right along with you guys.
Yep.
So, I'm thankful every day for what we have
And the foundation that's
Yeah.
laid before us. Yeah.
Yeah, I always told my dad, I wish you were like a hotshot lawyer that could have walked into a major law firm and all these things like, hi, pizza,
Instead, I'm sweating 70 hours
Yeah.
a week. Thanks.
But there's a beauty behind food and
Yeah,
what it
there
does for people. So
It's true.
Yep.
Brings people together.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've seen that. You don't get comments from somebody saying, "Hey, I remember all the experiences with this law firm or whatever. if they do, it's probably
I'm
not
sure
a
they're
good
pretty
thing.
memorable, some of them.
But people have the reason that you guys are still around is because people have had such great experiences at your restaurants, and they have these core memories locked in with them now. And I think it's very meaningful that you guys kind of stepped into those roles and said, hey, we don't want this to go away. Omaha enjoys this, Omaha needs this, and we're going to keep it going. So thank you for doing that. Moving off of your restaurant specifically and looking more just at the Omaha dining scene, the culture, the way that this city takes in food now, how has it most evolved since you got involved with your concept?
It's just, I mean, it's like gremlins. You pour water on like a restaurant, and then there's 5, 6, 7 more. And, you look at what it takes to open a restaurant, and it boggles my mind, frankly, like the amount of restaurants that open every day. And, that's the biggest thing since I started getting involved. And the amount of pizzerias. I mean, the amount of people that serve cheeseburgers and sandwiches.
So true.
I mean, I think fine dining, Omaha was never a huge hub for that, but there is a core to that. But most of the stuff that's opened up now is really more approachable daily food. So whether it's, sandwiches or pizza or, wraps or salads, I mean, I just think that market that we're in is becoming very, very saturated.
Ultra saturated.
And then, what people ask you is like, who's your competition? I always say it's anyone serving food nowadays.
That's very true.
Because to compete for the dollar, I mean, it doesn't really matter where they're eating. If they're not eating at your restaurant, they're eating at another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the hardest thing is that, the industry is ever changing and expanding, and you got to figure out your role and trying to be relevant. And I'm not saying that past generations that ran La Casa or any of these restaurants, didn't deal with that, but not to the extent, I will even tell you in the last,
Not even
like
close.
5 to 10, 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
It's
With
just
social media and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just changing people's attention to, oh, that's the new hot thing.
yeah, I mean, it's food porn. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's
It is.
literally, it's you get trapped on it on social media, and it's so easy because of the mechanism, right? Your phone, that people engage with at a high rate, and I think a lot of people want to be in this industry, and there's a lot of people in Omaha that have money that have sponsored concepts and are opening concepts, and so I think that's the hardest thing is trying to figure out, okay, we're here, how do we continue to do this and do it at a high level, and not sit back and say, okay, we have a great product, but so I think that's the biggest evolution since getting involved is just the sheer number of concepts.
Yeah, I think ultra saturation's a good word. Especially with, well, all three of us have now competitors in the neighborhood and or, not too far. But that's every block now.
Yeah.
I was in Blackstone today. It's crazy.
And
Yeah,
forget about the food trucks that are popping up
Oh,
everywhere,
yeah.
too.
And there's that new one that has a cheesesteak.
Right.
I'm not going to say their name. No, but it looks good. And of course, you
Yeah,
start
we've
thinking
all
about
consumed
that.
the food porn.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah, it's hard not to.
And
It's
you're
right
like,
there.
All right, and that's in Blackstone, and I'm like, all right, yeah, of course. But if you stick to your guns, and you can continue onwards, even though a lot of these people don't know what they're doing. And I don't want to knock anyone specifically, but they don't understand exactly. They just think that'd be fun.
And
you
sometimes
know,
the marketing
like-
is the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
But then
sure.
you go there and it's like, that was good. Looks better on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Not yours. Yours is always good, Dan. But yeah, I think they just the ultra saturation. It's basically a drainer. Like
Yeah, I think
they will fail without the right product, without the right consistency.
I think it's
and
hard
quality.
to get regulars, and that comes from being a generational business where you have regulars. We're so grateful for our regulars that eat 2, 3, 4 times a week. I've got a gentleman that is 3 times a day, literally every single day. Tom, shout out to you. We love you. for
Tom,
like
come down to La Casa
40
anytime,
years.
okay? Take a
Literally.
break.
He can't. He's got three meals planned a day, and they're
Tom's got
Broncos.
arteries of steel.
He's 84 years old. He does, but no, it's the regulars. And so, from a consumer, I'll admit I kind of like being able to go and say, "Wow, we'll have Mediterranean today and African tomorrow and Thai tonight," and you have all this stuff. And when I grew up here, I'm about 50, and so I'm a kid of the late 80s, 90s, and you didn't have that here. I mean, a lot of our audience here is similar age group, and that Omaha's changed a lot. But I don't know how many of those newer restaurants have the regulars. Like you said, is everybody selling food a competitor? Technically, they are, because that's one less. Even if it's a regular that wants to try something else, they've taken that out of. There's only so many in the bucket, right? If they're going to other buckets and there's multiple buckets, it does make it harder and harder to sustain. But I think I like it. It is difficult from a competitor standpoint, but it's kind of like what you say. Who's a competitor? I mean, anybody who sells food, but when it comes back to it, who sells food that has a regular, and is it your same regular? And I don't know that it is. I mean, we continue to grow every year, and I'm just grateful to the community. And I think it's from regulars and then the next generation and the next generation. And they'll try other things, but I think it's just like they come back to what they know and what they love. So.
Well, the concept of a regular is so interesting today because there's so much of what you guys talk about in that a new restaurant opens and they put up some great pictures on Instagram, and a couple influencers go and they put out flashy reviews, and then everybody's got to go. And they go to the restaurant and they take all their pictures and they try the food and they post an online review. Yep. And then they check that box.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, where's the next one? Where's the next one? And then they got to go hit the next one, and they got to go hit the next one.
The next hit. The next hit.
Yes. And it's
Influencers.
just based off of the way that people consume food in restaurants today. It is so much harder to get somebody who you will see, forget 3 times a day, 3 times a week, even 3 times a month, maybe 3 times
Very
a
true.
year. In what ways do you guys think about that at all, or do you combat that? Like, how do you create a regular in 2026?
I mean, I every time someone walks into the restaurant that I'm there, this isn't just, I'm targeting people that, he may not or she may have not have been here, but it's like you do have to engage with people coming in, and you have to share your story. I mean, the food is one thing, but the story and what you do, and for us, it's like from the prep stage, from when it hits the door, that we're making everything. And there are some pizzerias today that are doing that more than ever, I think, in Omaha. But I mean, the uniqueness of what we do, and like that is what I try to, I guess, explain to them, is that this is something you're not going to get somewhere else. Whether you love it or not, I can't, I don't have very little effect on that. We'll do our best to, produce a good product, but I think it's telling the story why this is important to the city and why people have come here for years. And so you really don't want to take people for granted. And that's something we talk about with our management staff, with our, just our team, is that, nowadays you get someone in the restaurant and it's hard for us if they order and they've never had Romano cheese. Our review is similar to yours. It's like if you dump fries on it, they're like, "Oh my God, it's messy." People are like, "Oh my God, what is that cheese?" Or it tasted off. It's like, okay, well, and I could tell people it's Romano. I can explain it to them, but unless they're
so
really
good.
engaged with
love
that
Romano, too.
conversation, they still are surprised by it. So you really have to try to engage with your customers authentically and explain to them what you do, and hopefully they understand it.
I always reference Cheers, where everybody knows your name, and where that's how you create. I had a new regular that started probably 3 years ago, and he was from Detroit, and he said, "I'm live right by the Med Center," and he came in once. He's there every day now, just because of like friendship and being kind, sharing their story, and having like enjoyment in your experience at a restaurant and or a pub.
Well, I think that's probably your authenticity, right?
Yeah, and I think that stands true to all three of us.
Yeah, I think if somebody is a first timer at any of our restaurants, and that I think people kind of consume food the way they consume media is a very ADD, like, try this, try this, try this, try this.
100%.
But if they may forget what they had there, and they may forget when they went, but they won't forget the way you made them feel or the experience that they had. And I think that if you're genuine, not trying to be an old 50s diner and 60s diner, you're not trying to be old school, you just are. That's a nostalgia piece that can't be recreated in a new environment. It can't be. There's too many souls of experiences that have been there that is real. That I don't know. I think it reverberates throughout the aura of the place. I'm getting kind of metaphysical, but in all honesty, I think that gets created there just from all of those experiences. And to start a new place and try that, it's not able to be recreated.
It's kind of like when somebody tries to open a drive-through dine like
A
yours,
diner, yeah.
like that. They try to recreate it, but the owner's 26,
Right.
and it's
and it's their interpretation of what a 50s
yeah,
diner is.
So
It's like,
yeah, you
that's
have
not exactly it.
You bought an old jukebox. That's
Right.
cool, but yours is legitimately like
that.
and 59.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tony, you said something really interesting there. I actually was listening to a podcast with a restaurant reviewer about 6 months ago that changed the way that I consume restaurants now. And that when I visit a place, I don't just try and say, okay, how was my experience? How did the food taste? All that stuff is important. But through talking to the server, if I get an opportunity to research the place a little bit, if I get a chance to talk to the chef or owner, even better. But trying to understand, what is this restaurant trying to do? What is the person who's running this place trying to say? What do they want to express to their guests? And then if you can understand that and actually listen and pay attention to what the restaurant wants from you or wants to give you, it's a much better symbiotic relationship. And I don't think most diners probably approach it that way. They just come in and say, is this good or bad? Internet, you have at it.
I heard about this place, and
Yeah. But I think the best way to go to a restaurant is to try and understand and be like, okay, why are they putting Romano cheese on here? I've never had that on a pizza before. There has to be a reason. And if the owner is in the dining room trying to explain it to me, that's amazing.
yeah, I mean, you get lucky if you get, and you can talk to people like that and you get out there, because there's always a lot going on. But I think all of us would probably agree. I mean, your opportunity to speak with customers, that's the core of your job. And if you don't like it, you're probably in the wrong industry. So I think, I genuinely care about the restaurant. And when I'm out on the floor or I'm making food, it's like I'm doing it because I want to and I have a choice.
Yeah.
And you're trying to give it credence to what it has been for years. And the expectation, when this woman had said to me, she's like, I did this for years, the best compliment you ever get is that I always ask, how was it? They're like, it's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of restaurants, if they got that, would be pleased. For us, that's number one. It's
Same.
like, because you're executing it and you're doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of restaurants today want to do stuff consistently. It's not
Correct.
because
It's ADD culture.
it's a shift of the menu. It's a shift of their bar menu, or it's how all these different things, and they're catering to. I think now more than anything, restaurants are catering to experience in a lot of ways. And you look at some of the major chains in Omaha, their restaurants are beautiful. You walk in and you're wowed. And I mean, I've gone to some, I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's like and the food falls flat. Or it's like you said, it's the second or third time you're there, it's like it's not consistent. So consistency and being genuine.
Yeah, we have our Philly, which is by far the best seller at Barrett's, is not a traditional Philly, kind of similar to the Mono Top, where we have a little bit of an Asian zing to it and the marinade. And when people come in from Philadelphia,
How do they react?
oh, they're not very happy.
You call it a Philly?
That's not a Philly. That's not a Philly.
I dined with someone, and I took them there to eat it, and they said the same. I'm like, shut up.
I'll
just
take
eat the
your
sandwich.
5
It's
cheese
so good.
blend
Just-
over a
I said,
cheese
just
whiz
enjoy it for what
any
it
day of the
is.
week.
I said it's better than your Philly.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
right.
way
Philadelphia.
better.
You drowned it
Yeah,
in the
yeah. And it's more, it's not a traditional one, but you have to explain it to them, and on the floor with them and explain how you got there, and that definitely goes a long way for them understanding and being like, you know what, I'm gonna come back. This was just a fun time to even talk to, a good waitress, a good cook, and or the owner. And I think that's huge for creating, regulars and continuing forward.
All right. Last question I got for you guys. I think you can have some fun with this one. We've talked a little bit about reviews. What does the ideal, from your standpoint, restaurant review system look like? You can blow up Google, you can blow up Yelp, you can blow up whatever you want.
I could be here all night.
I should have asked this question first. Maybe not the 60-minute answer, but the 2-minute answer.
Are you asking the platform?
I'm saying it's your ideal world. What does it look if someone is leaving a restaurant review in 2026 about Broncos? What do you think is the most fair way for that to be done? It could be a new platform, it could be social media, it could be there's no internet and you just have to come into Broncos and experience it yourself. What does that look like?
The irony for me is that I was in digital media, and I did that before I took over Broncos, and I know how it works, and I know that when I would guide my customers, I would talk to them about how you want to, participate and be a part of the conversation. And then I became the, person reading these thousands and thousands of reviews. And it literally gives you a visceral, it gives you a reaction. It really hurts when they say stuff bad, and it really feels great when they say something good. And I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm too passionate. I cannot involve myself. First of all, if it's good,
So
expect it. If it's bad, wait. Maybe you came on a bad day. Wait. It's coming from the owner, the person most passionate about it. I can never sell what your experience was. It was your experience. So to be candid, I like the way that it is. I like it raw and unfiltered because our people fight for us. So going back to that review of, us not packing the fries the right way, 4 or 5, one negative review caused a visceral reaction in our regulars. And they're like, you idiot, I can't say that. I want to say that, but I can't say that. But, they say it. And then it's like, who's it best coming from, me or you guys? And it's actually you guys. Let them fight it out. So the hardest core, most reality, good or bad that it is, which is what it's become. I mean, it's a cage match out there, and it's fine.
I tend to like the bad reviews. In terms of, I
Did
don't
not
sounds
see that one
ridiculous,
coming.
because I might have been working and it was that day, and I remember that guy was a beep.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and I'm
true.
like,
them all.
and that's the most people that give bad reviews are just not the nicest people, and they didn't understand what you're getting when you come to a place like Broncos, Barrett's, or La Casa. That no, it's not. Yeah, this isn't New York. If you're visiting, or and so you learn from that, and we always show every staff member that worked at that when that review was made, and we try to correct it, or
Figure out what happened.
be
yes.
mindful of that. But and of course the good reviews just tickle you. Yeah.
I'm on your side.
Yeah.
I've often thought of taking our worst review for the week and putting it on the marquee, and then
that's
letting
kinda what-
people look at it and go, what? Like, worst fries in Omaha? I don't understand. Rude service. It's like, all right, well, that's what
kinda
people review.
galvanizes the
Thank you, Linda
troops.
G. from Google.
It makes everybody there want to work harder or do better and understand. But like I said, sometimes it's just we can laugh at them.
Yeah.
Because you're wrong. we're not wrong.
No, we're never wrong.
Yeah, we're never wrong. But yeah, it's interesting to we all get really good reviews.
Yeah.
a lot. So those are kind of like, yep, I agree.
Yeah.
But the bad ones are the good ones that really pour over everything and kind of, yeah, okay, let's try to fix it and go from there.
The more salacial they are, the more you look at that person, you're like, okay, you've left a 1-star review for every single place
Yeah,
you've ever been.
that's the best part is going
Yeah.
through people's reviews. Like you
The
go to
chronic 1-star.
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
and it's like, oh, you've never given a good review in your
Never.
life.
Right.
Don't worry too hard.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I don't know how much Google or those places take that into account, but I mean, I think that we always do that too. It was like, okay, who is this person? And it's like,
It's a sad,
we-
it's a sad man.
and we take it serious because we're like, who was on shift that night? What took place? Was this
Exactly.
warranted or not?
Same.
So you have your back end check, and because of your staff, and because of I know my staff very well and they've been there forever, it's like, okay, you're not going to please everyone.
Right.
But I mean, to have fun, I would say the most ideal would be anytime someone reviews us, our team gets to figure out where you work. Our team gets to call your boss, get to hear all the information about how great you are every single day. It's crazy. I always talk about this where it's like, it's nuts that like this is, sure you review other things, but food is really the biggest reviewed thing. And it's the only industry that you can work your butt off and you serve, 400 covers on a Friday night. And then you get this 1-star review from this person that just blasts
And
you.
it eats you alive.
And you're just like, because everyone works so hard, you're just like, I think there should be like a cooling off period, a week,
After you eat here,
Yeah.
you must wait a week to review.
because like
48 hours. Like 48 hours.
we had one on Friday and it was a 1-star and it was came in, your spaghetti was terrible. Your sauce on your spaghetti was terrible and your salad dressing was terrible. It's like, our pasta's great. Our sauce is made in-house. I mean, you may not like it, but it's not terrible. And we make our salad dressing from scratch. So all these things
It was in ragu.
Yeah, right. We're making all these things from scratch, and it's like, pasta's terrible. Everything was just terrible. It's like if she just cooled off, or he or she cooled off for maybe a week, instead of walking out and just being
Sometimes
upset.
it makes you wonder if that was the new pizzeria in town that just
Well,
opened up.
and you go through some of that where you'll get like 2 or 3 1-stars in a row, and you're like, what the heck? But I don't know. There's probably not a perfect system. There really isn't. I think the perfect system is taking it with a grain of salt. I do think having a cooling off period would be pretty interesting though for some of these models, because I think it would take out the just the callousness and the just people, the motivation is to hurt a business. And once again, we're not running multi-million-dollar operations. Things like this,
That's a big part of it.
they do impact us to some extent.
Yeah.
And I think the hard part is because of how low margin our business is, it hurts more and it can be more negative to a business like ours. So, cool off, relax. And then maybe come see us in a week or give us a review in a week and we can work it out.
My favorite podcast, it's called The Chef's Cut, and it's hosted by 2 chefs, and they are like passionate about creating a platform where restaurants get to review the diner back.
I'm with them. I need
So
to
like
listen to
if
this.
you come in and you're rude to the staff or you show up late for your reservation or whatever it might be, you get to give them a 1-star back. So if somebody's going through the reviews and they're like, oh, that's a bad review. Oh, that's a bad diner that gave it.
That would
we,
level the
we might
playing
be on
field,
to
right?
something.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's see. You are an average. You give everyone a 1.5 stars, so like your weighting is very little.
Well, it is nice to have the response. And I know mainly through Google, we don't really do a Yelp manager thing, but Google owner, you can respond to every review. And it's sometimes fun to trash them. You're like, well, I remember you. You were difficult when you walked in.
Yeah.
It was immediately going to be a 1-star.
I find it amazing.
You had a rough day and you took it out on us.
Yeah.
Right.
There are restaurants in town that do this incredibly well. Like, they'll get a negative review and all of a sudden they're just blowing up social media about this one person. And I'm like, God, I don't have the gall to do that. Or but it's like they do some stuff and I'm like, well, that's kind of funny. But it's like, I just don't have the ability to do that and maybe in that fashion. But I do enjoy that when other restaurant owners do that. Because it's like I'm feeling cathartic. I feel like they're like, I'm with you on that one. Thank you for doing that.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to you guys. This has been so much fun tonight. I have so many more questions that I want to ask you, but I know I need to respect your time. Thank you so much for stepping up at all your places. You've talked about how there might not be a next generation of Broncos, of Barretts, of La Casa if you guys hadn't stepped into that role and said, it's important for my family, for Omaha, for this dining community, for this restaurant to continue to exist. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for coming and being on this panel tonight. Can we give our guests a round of applause?
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being our customer.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.